Welcome to Fact of the Matter 2012. I'm your host, Dan Bixler. Tonight is our first night on air, so let me break this thing down for you real quick. The show usually involves 3 different segments: Get Real, Common Ground, and Get Down. Get Real is the part of our show where our co-hosts Audra Briggs and Grosz get student opinions, offer tutorials, and other informative tidbits related to politics and the 2012 election. They'll show you the real truth. Common Ground features me as the moderator between 2 debaters. Both sides have an opposing view on a topic that is selected each week. It is meant to be a relaxed, friendly environment that does not condone screaming matches. After the 2 have debated, we try to reach an agreement between them, the common ground. Get Down is our part of the show where we get to relax a little bit more and have some fun with politics. It features satirical material similar to things you might find on The Daily Show with Jon Stewart or Weekend Update on Saturday Night Live. Brought to you by our local funny guys, Tony Drain and Pat Fisher. So now, sit back, relax, and enjoy our first segment, Let's Get Real.
Hi, I'm Audra Briggs, and after the wrap-up of the Republican and Democratic National Conventions, I decided to go around campus to see how many students tuned into the conventions and if they plan on being involved with the election this year. Hey guys, could you tell me what your names are?
My name's Peyton.
My name's Rebecca.
And I'm Trevor.
All right, Peyton, Rebecca, and Trevor, can you tell me, have you been keeping up with the presidential election?
Not really. I haven't.
A little bit here and there, but not too much.
A little bit, and how have you been keeping up with it?
I've been watching like Jon Stewart and whatnot, and he gives you basically a funny overall edition of what's happening, but still educational nonetheless.
Still educational. How about you?
I catch it when it's on the news sometimes. So.
On the news?
Yeah.
Do you guys check it on your phone? Do you have an iPhone or anything?
Oh, no. I'm not technologically savvy. Are you kidding me?
I don't keep up with it, but it's not something I want to look up on my phone.
We have the technology.
Do you guys know who's running? Do you know who the presidential candidates are?
Yeah.
Romney and Barack Obama.
Romney and Barack Obama, that's right. Do you know who the VPs are, the vice presidents?
I have no
I
idea.
know Joe Biden.
Joe Biden? Yep. Are you guys registered to vote?
Yes, I am.
No, I'm not.
You're not registered?
No.
Do you know how to go about registering? Do you know where you can go on campus to
I
register?
do not know where to go.
You do not?
No.
What was that?
The Solve office. Yeah, that's where they call me.
The Solve office. You can register to vote there. And have you guys been keeping up with the Democratic or Republican conventions?
I've seen bits and pieces here and there from the Jon Stewart.
Jon Stewart?
I watch the Democratic because, yeah, that's why.
And what are your feelings so far in the conventions?
Some things are kind of stupid how they run them. Like, they tried to do a verbal vote inside like a basketball stadium full of people, like all opposed versus, you know, like, and it was so loud you couldn't tell who was on which side.
It didn't really work out? You didn't think that was
And then
very
they're just kind of like
organized?
2/3 vote this one and...
Okay. Do you guys have any feelings on the convention so far?
I just like the presentations and how they can speak publicly because I want to be a speech major. So
Okay.
yeah.
So you're getting some tips on how to make a good speech?
Yeah. So.
Well, thank you guys so much for letting me do this. I hope to see you on campus. Okay, guys, can I ask you your name?
I'm Jake Morrison.
And I'm Roy Dennis.
Jake and Roy, do you guys know who the presidential candidates are?
Yes, I do.
And who are they?
Mitt Romney and Barack Obama.
Do you guys know who the running vice presidents are?
I know one, and that's Joe Biden.
Joe Biden, that's correct. And have you guys been keeping up with the campaign at all?
Honestly, not really.
How come? How come you're not keeping up with the campaign? Is there a specific reason?
It's just you have a lot of things to worry about while we're here in college.
Yeah.
I've got football and school to worry about, and Jake has commuting in school.
There's a lot on your plate right now.
Pretty much.
Are you guys registered to vote?
Yeah,
Are you guys planning on voting?
I am.
Yes.
That's good. That's good to hear. I hope I see you guys around campus then.
Sounds good.
So what are your names?
Amber.
Alex.
Amber and Alex, are you guys registered to vote?
Yes.
Yes, I am.
And do you know, if you weren't registered to vote, do you know where you could go to register on campus?
Not on campus, no.
I do not.
No? Okay. And are you guys keeping up with the presidential election right now?
A little bit.
Not really.
Not really? Okay, a little bit. Amber, you said?
Yes.
And how are you keeping up? Are you watching TV? Are you on the internet? What are you doing?
TV and internet.
TV and internet? Are there any specific sites or channels that you like to go to?
Channels, Fox 29.
Fox 49?
Yeah.
And any specific sites, or you just do news?
Just news.
Just
yeah.
news? Do you guys know who the presidential candidates are?
Yes.
And who are they? Can you tell me?
Mitt Romney and Obama.
Obama. Do you guys know the vice presidents?
Yes.
Nope.
No?
Biden and Ryan.
Biden and
I knew Biden.
Okay. And are there any issues that you feel the most prominent about? Is there anything that you would like to talk about?
Well, I guess the biggest issue would be healthcare.
Healthcare?
Yeah.
How about you, Alex?
School money, I guess.
School
Obama
money,
getting-
because that
yeah,
relates
'cause
to you personally.
Down there, they made a really good point about how Obama's good for college students.
Okay, so do you guys know who you're going to vote for? Are you going to vote for Obama, or are you not sure yet?
My family would kill me, but Obama's sounding like the way to go.
Obama. And is that because personally you feel affected the most by the school tuition and you want that to be changed?
Yeah, before it was just a blind going with the Republican Party, but now that I actually hear about the issues,
So you got more information, you're kind of changing your mind a little bit.
yep.
Mitt Romney.
Romney?
No.
And do you know why?
Mainly because I agree with the Republican economic views more so than Democratic views.
Well, I hope to see you guys around campus. Thanks for so much being on the show.
Thank you.
Hi, how are you today?
Doing well. How are you?
And what's your name? I'm good.
Bill Connors.
Bill Connors? Okay, Bill, are you keeping up with the presidential election right now?
I am.
Are there any certain sources that you're using in particular, a site or a TV station or a radio channel?
MSNBC.
MSNBC? Is that your favorite?
It is my favorite.
Okay, and are you registered to vote, Bill?
I am.
And Bill, who are you voting for?
I'm voting for Barack Obama.
Is there a reason you're voting for Obama?
I like his stance on gay rights and women's rights.
Okay. Hi, and what's your name?
My name's Evan Wright.
Evan Wright. And can you tell me, are you keeping up with the presidential campaign?
I am.
And how are you keeping up with it?
I watch the news and read articles online.
Are you using any specific sites or specific channels?
I use MSNBC and CNN
Okay.
and Al Jazeera.
Are there any favorite websites that you like to go to?
MSNBC.
MSNBC?
Yes.
Are you registered to vote, Evan?
Yes, I am.
And are you keeping up with the Democratic or Republican conventions that happened recently?
I am.
And do you have any specific thoughts on them?
I think they're very entertaining, and they go back and forth and show the true light of what's going on and what people are, what their platforms are.
Did the conventions help you decide who you're going to vote for, or do you not know yet?
I already knew before the.
Oh, you knew? So they didn't change your opinion at all?
No, they made it even better or clearer.
Oh, that's good though. So it helped you out.
Yes, it did.
And Evan, is there an issue that you think is really important?
I think the economy and our civil rights, like marriage equality and women's rights, are a pivotal topic in this year's election.
Thank you so much for being on our show, Evan.
You're welcome.
After talking with several students around campus, I realized that many of them did not know where they could go to register to vote this fall. Because of this, we decided to gather some more information about the voting registration process.
First, we spoke with Dr. Smith, who informed us how Bloomsburg University students can go about casting their vote in this fall's election.
If you're registered to vote back home, let's say you live in Philadelphia, but you're a student here at Bloomsburg, if you're registered to vote back home, you can vote back home. That means either on the day of voting, on election day, you have to make your way all the way back down to Philly to vote, or in advance, you're going to have to fill out an absentee ballot, which is actually kind of problematic, or it's a hassle. So you might want to rethink that. Here's one remedy. Even if you're registered to vote in Philadelphia, you can re-register to vote here in Bloomsburg, so long as you do it before October 9th. That's the deadline for registration. Once you register to vote here, then that will replace your registration in Philly, and you can vote here. And October 9th is the deadline, so you have to really make sure you meet that. So you won't be registered to vote in two places. In other words, you won't still be registered to vote in Pennsylvania, or let's say in Philadelphia and in Bloomsburg. Once you register to vote in Bloomsburg, that'll be the only place you can register. Now let's say you go back home then, and then you want to be registered to vote later down the road back in Philly, just re-register there. So you won't be here forever, right, with your registration. All you have to do is fill out a registration form and give it to the Solve office, and I'm sure that they'll take care of it, make sure it gets downtown.
Dr. Smith mentioned that students can register at the Solve office on the second floor of the Student Services Center. Matthew Albertson, a student worker in charge of the registration at the office, gave us an overview of the registration process.
I'm Matt Albertson. I work here in the Solve office in the Student Service Center. I currently work with voter registration, amongst other things, and I'm here to talk to you today about how to register, where to go to vote, and everything you need to know about voter registration. Okay, what you need to do is come in, pick up a form that we have here in the Solve office. We've got numerous ones. If it's a new registration, select new registration. You need your name, first and last, the address, whether you're on campus or off, date of birth, but very importantly, you need either your driver's license number or your social security number, the last 4 of your social security, what party you want to register for, and of course the signature. After you fill all that out, bring it back in here or into the Columbia County Annex down at the on Main Street to drop off your voter registration form. This is the main office where you sign up to vote. Unfortunately, Pennsylvania does not have an online voting system, so it's pretty antiquated. You have to fill out a form, and there is no day of registration. So the last day to register to vote for the general election in November is going to be October the 9th.
One thing we learned while speaking to Dr. Smith was that all voters are required to have a valid Pennsylvania photo ID. This is because of the Pennsylvania voter ID law. Smith and Jim McCormick, Assistant Director of Residence Life at BU, explained this law to us and what students without a valid ID can do to make sure their voice is heard in this year's election.
And to vote, then, here's the big problem, right? We all know about the voter ID laws. They require a state a state ID with a photograph of you, and it has to have an expiration date, and some people are emphasizing that it has to have some address, that is the address, in fact, that you're registered to vote at. Apparently your driver's license would work perfectly well, but let's say your driver's license has an address in Philadelphia where you live, but you're now voting here in Bloomsburg. Although I think that most people are going to accept the valid Pennsylvania ID. I could see someone being a stickler saying, hey, your address is wrong. I could see that. But I think so long as you have the photo ID with a expiration date and that's been issued by the state, that should be enough. Now, if you're from out of state, you're obviously going to need to get either a Pennsylvania state driver's license, and if you're not going to do that, then you need to get some sort of voter ID card. Well, you can get that here on campus. If you go to the BU Card Center, which is in Ewell Hall, you go down there, they'll make you a photo ID. It'll have your picture, it'll have the expiration date on it, and it's free. So the thing is that you can get it for free. So if you're from out of state, that's what I would do. I'd go get one of those.
Okay, I'm Jim McCormick. I'm an Associate Director of Residence Life for Administration and Technology, and I'm here, I guess, to provide you information related to what the BU Card Center will provide in support of the Pennsylvania voter ID law. So generally speaking, the General Assembly for Pennsylvania has mandated that any students that do not have a valid photo ID must present something along the lines if they want to vote. As a result, one of the valid forms of identification is an accredited university within the Commonwealth. Pennsylvania is one of those. So as a result, the BU Card Center will produce, upon request, a voter ID only ID card that will allow students to vote and will be accepted at the polling places. Any students who request a card, it comes at no cost to them for the first card. Any subsequent card, if they lose their card between now and November 2nd, it would be a $10 charge.
Matt Albertson from the Solve office also informed us of the various forms of ID that will be accepted at the polling places this November and where students can go to cast their vote on Election Day. And a final comment from Dr. Smith explains that if the voter ID law keeps anyone from getting into the voting booth, they still have the right to vote using a provisional ballot.
Well, our polling location is Bloomsburg 3rd Ward, 2nd District. We'll be located in the Care Union building, probably downstairs, but that has not been decided yet. Just walk in, make sure you have a form of identification. Of course, there's the Pennsylvania voter ID law now that is in effect. Forms of identification that are acceptable, amongst others, are your Pennsylvania driver's license, a Pennsylvania ID card, military ID, and of course your passport. Voting is not a right. It's not in the Constitution. It is a privilege, so it's something that can be taken away. And voting is a way to voice your opinion on specific matters, hot topic issues. I'm not going to get into those here, of course. I have to be unbiased. But it's a way to say what you want. And of course, it's a presidential election. It only comes around every 4 years. In the 2008 election, we saw a huge turnout by students, which ended up, Barack Obama, of course, won the presidency. So I expect a lot of people to come out and vote this year.
Let's say you get hassled at the polling place, and they say for whatever reason, the ID that you're presenting isn't acceptable to them. Here's what you do. Demand your right to vote by way of provisional ballot. So ask for a provisional ballot. They will have to give it to you and vote right there on the provisional ballot. It goes into a sort of the secret envelope where all the provisional ballots go, and then that gets determined at some point by an official committee whether they're valid or not. But then you have an opportunity to show that you are the person who you said you were and so on. And my guess is that you'll win the day and you'll be able to vote. So anyone who is turned away from the polls, don't go. Like, if you want to vote, demand your right and say, I want a provisional ballot. They'll know what it is and they'll give it to you. They might not offer it to you, so you need to demand it. They might not say, oh, here's a provisional ballot. But if you demand the provisional ballot by right, they have to give it to you. You could vote just like you would normally, and just that what happens is that you may have to show up downtown here and bring your driver's license and a few other things and show that you are who you say you are.
The deadline to register to vote for the election is October 9th, and the 2012 election day is November 6th. Polls will be open from 7 a.m. until 8 p.m.
There will be several places in Bloomsburg to go to cast your vote, including the Caldwell Consistory on Market Street, the new Fire Hall, also on Market Street, the Town Hall on Main Street, and the Cara Union Building on campus.
Be sure to get out there and get yourself registered to make sure you have the chance to make your vote count and your voice heard in the 2012 presidential election.
Now let's send it back to Dan Bixler with Common Ground.
Hello and welcome to the first exciting episode of Fact of the Matter 2012 and this special convention edition of Common Ground. I'm your host and moderator, Dan Bixler. Today I have with me Dr. George Agbango and Dr. Neil Strine from the Political Science Department here at Bloomsburg. Thank you for coming on the show. Today we'll be discussing the national conventions held in recent weeks by the Democratic and Republican parties. I'll be giving questions to both sides and they will be able to say whatever they want on the topic. At the end of today's show, I hope that we can all at least come to some agreement about the government as a whole, what needs to be improved upon, and hopefully find some common ground. All right, so Dr. Neil Strine, we'll start with you. What is the real purpose of the conventions?
Well, the conventions, first of all, they meet every 4 years and to nominate their, for several purposes. One, to nominate their party's candidate for President of the United States. They also ratify their platform, their party platform for that specific year. But generally, the conventions at the beginning of the 20th century used to be back rooms, smoke-filled rooms in which the party operatives would select the candidates for the general election. And as we've moved through the 20th century, conventions have moved to a point at which they are opportunities for both political parties to actually showcase their candidates. And really, they become really long television advertisements for the candidates. They're well scripted for each candidate. Each speech is reviewed ahead of time. Each night has a common theme. So really, conventions are, they're meant to nominate and adopt platform, but ultimately, as in the 21st century, they're really just long television advertisements. So they're very important.
And do you have anything else to add to that or anything?
I agree with my esteemed colleague that conventions do exactly what he has said. Many years back, when conventions were called to order, it was a time when candidates battled on the floor of the convention to get nominated. Now, that has been done away with. Pretty much weeks before the convention, we know who is going to be the nominee of which political party, and even we know who is going to be the running mate. So conventions have now become an era for free television broadcast telecast to the entire country and also to the world. It's also at a time when people look forward to who are the possible likely future presidential candidates. Because when people come to speak, they are not speaking only to endorse the candidates who are running for office, but they are also there to advertise themselves. You can see that in 2004, Obama had the opportunity to give the keynote address which introduced Kerry. But it was a time when people looked at him and said, hey, perhaps this guy is someone whom we can look at for a future president. And so time has come to pass, and he is now president. You know, when I looked at the Republican conventions that they had in Florida, and then the one that the Democrats had in North Carolina, obviously it was a wonderful time for both parties. I was very proud of the democratic system that we have in this country.
All right, and so what did you hope to see really come out of these conventions that were held?
No, I wanted to see both parties that at the end of the day, they will clearly state what their platform was all about, what they intend to do if they are given the opportunity to govern the country. And also whether they are very sincere with what their political manifesto attests to. And both parties came out, I must say, I was very impressed with both parties. In the case of the Republicans, they had a rather bad start because of the hurricane, and over 200,000 homes were without power, and that was a very serious disadvantage to them. They were a bit disorganized to begin with, but they picked up very well. And towards the end, they were able to deliver. The Democrats, on the other hand, took advantage of the early disorganization of the Republicans, and I think they did a better job compared to their counterparts, the Republicans. But one can say that both almost broke even at the time that they left in terms of popularity and their ability to articulate their political manifesto, that is their platform.
And do you have anything else to add or comment on?
No, I agree with much of what Dr. Agbango mentioned with regard to the parties. You know, the Republicans did have the unfortunate circumstance of the hurricane or tropical storm going through the same time. And, you know, as Dr. Agbango said, they were able to, you know, bounce back from that. And so the Democrats did have the advantage of not having any kind of major weather event affecting their convention. The polls show, the recent polls show that, you know, generally candidates are supposed to come out of the conventions with some sort of bounce in public opinion. They, you know, get an increase of support among the American people. The polls indicated that Romney did not have much of a bounce out of his convention, whereas Obama did come out with roughly a 4.5%. If you average all the polls, they come up with a 4.5% advantage. Overall, Romney went into the convention with a slight lead over Obama, and then Obama now, at least initially, looked like came up 4.5% higher. I do want to mention that it's kind of surprising that that Obama did have this big bounce in his convention because we were talking earlier off camera regarding the party platform. And one of the, as I mentioned before, the party conventions are very much scripted. But this year, there was a big controversy at the Democratic convention that was on live TV, where the leadership of the party wanted to reinsert into the Democratic platform reference to God, and then also reference to Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. And it was rather embarrassing for the Democratic Party when the chairman of the convention put it up for a vote. He asked for a 2/3 majority, and clearly to the average viewer watching and listening to the convention, he did not get that 2/3, and ultimately he overruled the delegates to say, yes, we need to go ahead and put this in anyway. So from a script point of view, they did go off script briefly, but you know, Obama was able to benefit also.
And do you think that was like almost a necessary step that they had to take in order to like get a little bit more attention and everything, like having those things added into the platform?
Oh yes, definitely, because you know, with the United States we're still, you know, Judeo-Christian values, you know, that both political parties a lot of times argue over, well, God's a Democrat also, and you can't have a political party in the United States that doesn't recognize at least the existence of a supreme being. And also, given our support of Israel in the past, you know, to have a political party not identifying or supporting the country of Israel would basically be suicide. That they would not be able to survive that. So it was important for that to get in, to put back into their platform.
Well, I saw that glitch as a mark of real democracy that we have in this country. That nothing is scripted, and that the masses prevail at the end of the day, or that the input from the masses constitute a very important factor in the making of major political decisions for the Democratic Party. But that was very minor compared to what they accomplished. I think coming to both conventions, the Democrats had an upper edge because of the fact that they only had a single candidate, and therefore they were not even torn before they came to Charlotte, North Carolina for the convention. Unlike the Republicans, for several months, we saw them debating one another, criticizing one another, knocking each other down, jumping up and coming back, and so on. So they were even surprised that they managed to pull it off the way they did, because it was almost like a divided party coming to reach an agreement. But they did. And honestly, the 5%, the 5 to 6% bounce that Obama had, advantage that Obama had over Romney after the convention, I think it was relatively very small. It should have been more than that, because of the fact that the Democratic Party convention was well organized. They had very good speakers. Mrs. Obama was extraordinary, not to talk about Clinton, who is very popular and who endorsed Obama. And then in the end, Obama comes across as he said in his opening statement, I'm a candidate for the presidency and I'm also president. With that kind of aura, you know, and millions watching what was going on, definitely gave him a very big boost. But at the final analysis, it is not what happens at the convention that necessarily determines who will be president. It's what they will say during the debates, because the debates will play a very major role in our decision as to who should be the president in the next 4 years.
All right. Do you have anything that you would like to comment on about that?
Yeah, first of all, I do agree. I mean, obviously Obama has the advantage of being president going into the convention, so naturally, you know, he's going to be able to, you know, he should have some kind of advantage in that. And I agree with Dr. Bongo that there was a concerted effort. Actually, the Obama campaign spent significantly more money than, you know, a lot of, let's just say they spent a lot of money during the spring really hammering Romney and going after him with his business background, and you know, it was relentless against him. And, you know, so he did go into the convention as, you know, weaker, but I think that the Republican convention was very positive for Romney. I think the American people got a chance to see who he was. I do want to just go back real quick to the question of the platform, the incident that happened at the Democratic convention, and I'm just curious as to whether or not Romney is going to use this as an advantage to him or use it in his advertisements. And that is the fact that when the platform plank was ultimately approved, the amendment, a lot of people booed.
It's adopted. And the platform has been amended as shown on the screen.
And it sounded to the average person that the Democrats were booing God and Israel. But no, I agree with a lot of what Dr. Bongo mentioned. And so when you look at Romney's speech, and specifically I would argue Paul Ryan's speech at the convention, really I think attacked Obama on the economy, and I think that was quite effective.